The experience that our faculty has gone through the professional learning experiences of our PLCs has been real valuable. I'm strongly supportive of professional development where teachers are reflective and look inquisitively into their own practice. The professional learning communities model allows teachers to take an opportunity to invest in something of their own interest and their own passion and study it and review it collegially with others. And I think that really is one of the real benefits of an experience like this.
This year at AISD, we embarked on our first ever journey into professional learning communities, otherwise known as PLCs. A PLC is a process that works to enhance the school culture and structures already in place. We had 19 PLC groups that worked collaboratively through a facilitated process that allowed for continuous reflection on professional practices. To begin the process, teachers reflected on professional wonderings that had a direct impact on student learning. Through collaboration with peers, we were able to create deeper professional conversations, moving us out of isolation and into collective and public space. We used a facilitated action research process that allowed us to find answers to our biggest professional wonderings through the collection of various data sources. Overall, PLCs at AISD allowed for ongoing professional development that improved professional practices and teaching, and ultimately had a positive impact on student learning.
Well, that was incredibly valuable because what happened was that after I agreed to be the facilitator, you brought us in for several sessions, and I got to work with people in the school that I had not worked with before. And we had a range of experiences too. There were some people who had done this in different schools and in different, I guess, venues or something. And then the resources that you gave us and the fact that you were modeling the whole facilitation process as we were being trained to be facilitators was good. That's kind of, basic teaching methodology type of work. So that was, I felt really supported by all of them.
The handbook you gave us as facilitators actually had a number of activities that I've tried in class to engage my own students, because I thought that was an amazing book.
I would recommend the facilitation for sure. I think it definitely challenges you as a professional.
It's always my theme for the year. But then when we started the PLC and I read mindset, and I started talking to some of my colleagues about being mindful and thoughtful in your teaching, it just kind of all came together. One of the things I put into place was not a meditation practice, but more of like a just drop everything and read after recess. I feel like the students are more focused and concentrated and engaged in the lessons because they've had that downtime.
So Wendy and I were interested in trying to get the students to think more visibly. And in the early years, it's really hard because a lot of times the kids, we require them to write their work, but it's very taxing on little kids and that becomes very arduous. So we decided to see how technology could be used more efficiently to capture their thinking. Initially, we started with all technology, but we've narrowed it down to Explain Everything app at the beginning, and hopefully we can continue with more technology.
Main goal of the PLC was student engagement, and so we looked at ways as to how we can increase student engagement in the classroom. And one approach we took to that was that we split into partners between different departments and went and observed each other's classes, looking for ways that the other teacher was engaging in student engagement in their classroom.
An initial observation just of a regular class. Then we did a second observation where the teacher was trying a new method to engage the students. And so I think it was interesting for the teacher to see what someone else thought of this process.
I have a student with limited English, so I use a different reading program online for him that wasn't really beneficial to anyone else in the class, but it was beneficial to him. We also did front loading of vocabulary for him before we started. That was a lot of help from Tina and EAL. So she would work with him and another student to give him front loading on vocabulary.
So our original intent in my PLC was to motivate students to have deeper thinking through critical questioning techniques. Well, the first thing that I did was research different ways to ask questions. So we did a lot of looking at videos together from the websites.
A Critical Friends group is a professional learning community consisting of 8 to 12 members who are committed to improving their practice through collaborative learning and structured interactions or protocols. The group meets with a trained CFG facilitator using protocols to guide them to continue to move forward to reflect and improve practice with outcomes.
I started out looking at math differentiation, and my focus, my goal was really to try to improve the critical thinking skills of my higher level math students.
Well, we pretty much cover all the primary, right from grade 5 down to kindergarten, pre-K, sorry, right down to pre-K. We've got some specialists.
And we all have very different goals, but they all connect to differentiation. So
I asked PLC group, what can I do with this? And then Leah had suggestion, how about Anna would write a question to her book buddy. So, and that's how the whole pen-pal system started between two of our classes.
Yeah, so then as a domino effect, when her kids started coming in and sharing their journals with my class, we had kind of a range of abilities, and so my struggling writers actually ended up gaining confidence.
At least in my classroom, I've seen huge improvements with their ability to explain the steps they've gone through to come to a conclusion of a problem. And then I'm able to narrow in where I need to work with those students. So I can see where they might have made the mistake in their process of thinking, and then I can address that area rather than you came to the wrong conclusion.
And the students did respond to that, and they began to understand the difference between open and closed questions. And we practiced that a lot in class. The questions like, what makes you say that, really prompted their thinking more than, well, why? You know, what makes you say that? So they would, you know, they would give an answer, and just something simple like, what makes you say that, really actually caused a debate sometimes in the classroom, because one student would say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but this is what I think, and this is what makes me say that. Things were more open, and they didn't feel like, you know, they didn't feel intimidated that they were going to give a wrong answer. They felt, oh, I can express my thoughts, and everyone's going to listen to me, and I will be valued just as much as the student who always has the answer the teacher's looking for.
Okay. He went from very little, almost no English on the first day of school. And obviously, you know, this is how quickly children pick up a language, and he's fantastic now.
Wow.
We did differentiation. Everyone collected student data. Everyone had a different approach to how we collected the data and how we used the data to change our instruction.
The data that I collected was interviews, videotapes, and written interviews, reflections of the kids that were both in the pull-out group, the enrichment group, and then the lower performing students that stayed and worked with me in a smaller group setting.
Yes, it made me think. I mean, I had to really think before I started a lesson. What will he need to be successful? Because his needs are so different than other children in the class. And also, you have to think about differentiating across the whole board, not just someone who's limited English, but also someone who is at the higher end. How are you going to make it challenging or extending for them?
So I began to move away from a more product-based assessment and more of assessing their thinking.
Came out of it for me is that I started to realize that there are different levels of engagement, and that engagement is not just either you're engaged or you're not engaged. That there's a difference between being fully engaged, intrinsically motivated in the lesson, versus just doing something because you have to. So it kind of helped me to start to approach my lessons a little bit differently, and to make sure that when I assess myself in my teaching, that I'm looking at full engagement rather than just compliance.
For a number of us, I think the unintended benefit of doing this was actually getting a chance to see other teachers teach. We really don't get a chance to observe each other very often, and I thought of it initially as just being a chance to help my students, but actually it helped me become a better teacher.
I think schools are about relationships between people, and this group has really helped me to focus on those relationships and try to get clarity in those and to really listen.
Through the course, I was telling everybody earlier, what I personally got out of it was how to say what we need to say while valuing each other at the same time, and how that in itself, you know, the professional way of talking to one another and valuing each other is so important, because it keeps the momentum going and the work done, whether it's between student and teacher or faculty amongst ourselves, faculty, administration, whatever the case may be.
As far as our group went, we had originally a target that we wanted to go towards, and as the PLC evolved, we found that target shifted, it changed. And as a group, I think we were a little bit confused why it shifted, but individually, we each knew that was where we wanted to change our learning. So even though the main target shifted, everybody kind of fell into their own place as to where they wanted to go.
Welcome to our first ever PLC celebration, our first year of PLC. On 3 different floors, there are fabulous informational sessions for you to just review and take a look. There's a lot of great learning that's been happening over the course of the year. And so I think it's exciting just to see the different aspects of what folks have delved into. Through the beauty of Facebook, we've been seeing little pockets, if you've been connected to certain people on staff who have shared out some things that they've learned and some of their experiences already. Some of the information that's being shared today is the first time much of us have seen it. And so it's going to be interesting to see what's coming out of this information and where we are going to take this into the future.